When it comes to efficiency, adding that extra layer can make extra energy savings. Think about it like when you bundle up in the wintertime. It adds an extra layer of protection. Well, a good fitting storm door works on that same principle. We're here at Hometown Restyling to talk to Dave Wagman about the options and installation of storm doors. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Why don't you touch on some of the benefits that a storm door offers?
Yeah, a storm door, like you're saying, is going to definitely add an extra layer of efficiency to an entry door, especially if you've got an older, inefficient entry door. But you're also going to add the functionality of the screen that allows ventilation in, the view out, the light in, as well as additional lock and mechanism to keep people out.
Well, looking around, there are lots of styles available for people, right? For different aesthetics.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options. Everything from a full view to a half view, different screen options, no screen options, definitely a lot of different colors and hardware to choose from.
And how can a storm door add to a home's energy efficiency?
Yeah, so it's just the first layer of defense against any type of wind or storm, as well as any temperature difference.
Okay, I want to learn more about the benefits. Can you go into a little more depth about that?
Yeah, so the benefits of a storm door, when you're standing at a storm door, you're able to ventilate and get that clean breeze in an area that oftentimes doesn't have a lot of ventilation, as well as oftentimes a dark area. You're going to let all that light in. The security of a storm door, you're able to open your entry door, see somebody at the entry door, and without letting them in yet. All the way to just back to that efficiency that you're talking about.
Right. Well, I would love to see how it's installed. Can we go on site?
Absolutely. We got it installed today.
Great. So talk about the installation process.
Yeah, it's really important that you prep the space and prepare yourself, and that's going to start with just measuring the door and then double measuring. You know, second measure is very key. But then once you have the door all laid out and ready, you're going to set all your pieces and parts out to make sure everything's there. You're going to double check that the frame that you're installing to is secure and sturdy, because that's going to change this project from a short-term project versus a long-lasting project.
You're talking about the foundation of the door and the wood surrounding it, right?
Absolutely, yep. The frame of the door, oftentimes a brick mold that you're attaching to, has to be in good shape. So then once we go ahead and get it all laid out, we're going to want to make sure we pre-drill all the screw holes, and then we're going to install from the jam side or the swing side. So wherever the door is attaching to, it's swinging, that's where we're going to attach first, and we're going to work up and around on the header and then the side jam all the way down to the expander at the bottom. The hardware, the handle set, is normally installed last according to the instructions, but a lot of times our installers prefer to install that earlier on in the process.
Well, speaking of your installers, I'm really impressed at the speed with which this guy installs a door. He's done this more than once.
Yeah, Bill makes this look easy. He's done many of these.
Now, I'll tell you my personal experience. I thought it was an easy job, and I considered myself a do-it-yourselfer, right? And I had to call a professional halfway through. So I know a lot of our viewers consider themselves DIYers. What caveats would you give them?
Yeah, storm doors are definitely sold as a DIY type of project, but I definitely want to caution the average DIYer that doesn't have a upper level skill set. Storm doors look very simple and are a lot more detailed than most people think. Oftentimes a lot of the doors that we're replacing were installed incorrectly, and oftentimes by a DIYer.
And so they have to be level and airtight, right? That's the basic idea.
Yeah, one of the most common things we see is that a storm door doesn't have a clean reveal all the way around, so that seal is not actually happening.
All right, so if people are considering doing it themselves, you're going to give them some tips, and also just walk us through your process on how your company installs.
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody installing a storm door, they want to make sure they prepare themselves and the space that they're going to be installing. They really want to make sure that they double check a measurement and make sure that they've got all the right materials and tools laid out. So get the material unboxed and set out, and then double check the frame of the entry door that they're going to be installing to make sure that it's sound and secure, that it's a good foundation to install to.
Okay.
From there, they'll want to make sure that they pre-drill as needed so that the screws that they're installing go in easy. And then they'll work just from the jam side that the swing is on and install and hang that door. Work up and around the top Z flashing over to the side Z flashing, install the bottom expander, and then lastly the hardware, the handle set.
All right. My next question is, it may not be an easy one considering all the different variables, but if you could give us a cost range, that would be helpful.
Yeah, a lot of those options we talked about are going to impact the cost of the materials, and then there's different labor that's necessary for different installs, but anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple of $1,000s depending on those details.
Oh, that's great. And it really is an investment, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's a big impact to most homeowners.
Great. Thanks so much for this information.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about making your PowerHouse more energy efficient and giving that extra curb appeal, go to PowerHouseTV.com.
Simple wooden doors were used as early as the 18th century to protect main entry doors from weather. Screen doors gained popularity in the late 19th century to allow airflow and restrict pests, progressing from cheesecloth to wire mesh. And in the mid-20th century, aluminum storm doors became more common, offering a rust-proof alternative to steel, lighter construction materials, and added durability.